inquiry today.
Noah still sleeps next to me, every night curled around his daddy's pillow. Lily cries, begging for her daddy to come home from heaven. She has lived far more days crying for her daddy than she ever had laughing with him. This is our life now, the life we never chose. Dan gave everything, even his life. The least this committee can do is truly find out why.
Well, Defence says that safety is its top priority. It does everything in its power to ensure that every member comes home safely. Selena, the report from the Senate inquiry is due back in September.
Laura Lavelle reporting for us from Brisbane. Well, climate change has been a challenge for farmers around the world for years, and with extreme weather events becoming more common, the agricultural sector across the world needs help feeding a growing global population. To help tackle the issue, the European Union is making changes to rules for genetically modified foods. Deutsche Welle correspondent Lars Halter joins us now from Berlin. And Lars, talk us through the changes that are being made.
Well, what happened here is the European Union has loosened restrictions on genetically modified crops. The decision in Brussels is highly controversial, of course, but let me get to some of the details in future. And we're talking as soon as 2028 as a starting date. Foods modified by genetic engineering techniques may be sold in EU supermarkets without special labeling. Now, no labeling, of course, doesn't mean that there is no regulation. In fact, these genetically modified foods remain subject to the same safety requirements as regular traditionally grown varieties, which are, of course, usually developed through crossbreeding and selection. Now, there will be two categories for genetic engineering. For now, no tests will be necessary for minor modifications, but wherever genes from different plants are brought together, or in some cases bacteria is injected into the genetic makeup of a plant, there will still be strict requirements for testing before they get approval.
Well, there is, of course, controversy around genetic modification, Lars. Why did the European Commission move to loosen the regulations?
Well, proponents of these changes hope that they will lead to two outcomes. On the one side, to make it easier for farmers to grow certain products, while giving consumers or customers on the other side a better product as well. Specifically, genetically modifying plants could lead to grain, fruit and vegetable varieties that offer higher yields. That's maybe the most important part here. Sometimes they expect there could be also higher nutritional value, and also most importantly, they would be more resilient to climate change. The European Parliament also notes that modified varieties, including corn, wheat or rice that require less water, for example, they are already available outside the EU. And given current climate trends, it's easy to see that we need to improve crops to deal with what's coming at them. So the EU decision was actually celebrated by scientists as well, because they believe that less stringent regulation will facilitate more research.
And, well, just finally then, can you explain to us some of the criticism of food modification and more broadly how the changes will be received in the EU?
Well, certainly with a lot of skepticism. There are mainly two reasons for that. First of all, consumer advocates, to begin with that side, they're saying that people should have all the information they need to make their own choice on what to buy. Meaning the problem for them is not necessarily that genetically modified food is available, but that it's not labeled that way. However, an even bigger problem is that farmers will have to deal with patents that agroscience firms are going to slap on their products. And farmers that might even by accident use certain plants, even if they found their way, let's say, on a field by way of the wind or cross-pollination or something like this, they will be at risk for lawsuits. Then there are also fears that eventually large numbers of genetically modified plants could actually overwhelm natural systems and actually lower natural biodiversity. So there are quite a few reasons to be skeptical.
Deutsche Welle correspondent Lars Halter, good to talk to you. Now let's check on the finance news. Here's David Taylor.